French Capital Management Podcast. It is Saturday, May 30th, 2020. We just come out of a COVID crisis and now we've got riots back in the streets again. So this ought to be a interesting summer now. So let's see what happened. I'm going to go over the markets a little bit and also one of my favorite episodes. I always highlight an episode or some of the sailing channels that I watch on YouTube. So this is a shout out to Sailing Project Atticus. Desiree and Jordan, they were down Bocos del Toro in Panama. It's beautiful there. I need to go take a vacation there on my boat as soon as possible, and so do you. It was positive markets for May. S&P was up, Nasdaq was up, Dow was up. There was a fast recovery, and one thing that happened later in the week, I didn't get a chance to completely investigate this. I want to know how many companies, what companies, and how much, who was doing a large amount of stock buybacks with all this extra cash that they had on hand because, as you know, corporate tax rates are way down than where they were 4 years ago. So now that companies are saving more money and not having to pay as many taxes, they reinvested into into themselves by buying back their shares. Um, and I want to do some research next week and find out exactly who was doing the most buying, and I want to know if that has anything to do with the strong recovery of the markets. Um, but this is a Fed-induced market, of course. Interest rates are still way low, and historically, when interest rates go down, the stock market goes up. So it's definitely Fed-induced. I'm going to talk also a little bit more about the meeting with Jerome Powell and Alan Bender. They had a meeting. So Jerome Powell, of course, he's the Fed chairman. Alan Bender, or I'm sorry, Blinder, he's the former Fed vice chairman, and he's also a Princeton University professor. They had an interesting talk. Let's see, I'm going over some of my notes right here. It was a this is kind of funny actually. It was about the balance sheet and how big it's going to get. Powell said it's got a long way to go. so, so that just means that we can keep on borrowing and inflating the dollar. Um, but the thing is, once we go through stagflation or deflation, after it inflates too much, then that's got its own issues. But if you're a smart investor, if you're smart with your money, and you have somebody good managing your money, it doesn't matter if stock prices or the value of the dollar, interest rates go up or down. You can make money in either direction. But one of the funny things he said in it, this was kind of funny and alarming. I'm not sure if he was just saying that tongue in cheek, but he said that the worst thing was that after they continued to expand the balance sheet, that the Fed would figure it out afterward, even though they knew that it wasn't a good thing to do. So of course that was more of a case for people to get into Bitcoin. People are asking me about, oh, isn't that good? And I have an answer for you. There was a interview with Goldman Sachs on Friday. They were doing a client meeting, and they came out with an official, just an official stance on Bitcoin. They were saying, hey, look, it's not an investment class, and it's not an inflation hedge. It's very volatile, but they're not saying, it's not something that they actually want to trade. But for all my Bitcoin traders out there, keep on telling me what your successes and failures are. There's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. Just don't go 100% into Bitcoin. So let me look at a couple of trades on my watch list that was from the week. So the biggest gainer was Moderna. MRNA is the ticker. Was up 10.73% on Friday. And that is in response to they're a biotech company and they're working on a COVID vaccine. And there's some promising results right now. So we'll have more about that. And the biggest loser, which sometimes the losers, it's not necessarily that, it's not necessarily that they're a bad company. They just had a big move downwards. So I had a short position with Nordstrom, ticker JWN. That was down 10.98% before I bought back into it, and that was a good move down. Now Nordstrom, it's definitely, if you know the company, if you know Nordstrom, it's got a loyal following, um, and it seems to be, it's financially and technically, it's still something I've got to look at to see if, to find a buy signal. It still looks like a sell to me. But there's some actual, there's some other professional traders and then some analysts that look at it and say that's still a sell. I don't know. Let's be honest. Let's take a look at it again next week. Um, and also too, silver was up, gold was up, both of them at the same time. That is, it's like some people would tell you that if gold is up, then silver's down, and vice versa. They're not necessarily always, inverse of each other. So the fact that they're both way up like that, that signals a precious metals rally. And that's due also to the decline of the dollar strength because of all the inflation that's going on right now. So, since it's the end of May right now, don't just, there's an old adage out there, sell in May, yeah, sell in May and walk away. You don't necessarily want to sell in May and walk away. Maybe you did really great for the last 6 months, and it's time for you to take a summer vacation. Go do it. Go see Desiree and Jordan down in Bocas del Toro in Panama, and have fun with them. Yeah, they look like they're having a blast. So basically, what the other economic data that I got at the end of it and at the end of Trump's speech, if you listen to that on Friday, the biggest carry and the takeaway that I had from that, and this is something that we can all agree with, is that we need to have more production and more consumption in the United States. We need to be less reliant on other companies. We need to be more of a producer and less of a consumer. That will continue to, bring forth changes in the economy that are positive and good for Americans. So that is the basic weekly roundup. I know it's a little bit short this week. I didn't take enough notes down. I've just got a whole bunch of things I have to do before Monday. So, send me some emails or send me a DM or something like that. Let's talk about Nordstrom. I want to know if all you options traders out there, I want to know what positions, what type of credit or debit spreads you're taking with Nordstrom right now. Let's focus on that one because I get a lot of questions about Nordstrom. It's just it's a very popular stock for people. All right, well that's it. Everyone have a safe weekend. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.